Hello everyone, welcome to my review of House of Flame and Shadow, also known as Crescent City 3. I do have the Target exclusive edition with the bonus scene with Ruhn and Lydia, which you can see later in this video. I do read and react. So this is a bit of a combination video where I'll give you my very non-spoilery review at the very beginning here, and I'll also include it in my monthly wrap-up for February where I'll go a bit into more detail with it. Then I have a bunch of clips of me actually reading it, and I will share a lot of my highlights, a lot of my thoughts. That's where I'll go into the spoilers, and then at the very end I will kind of wrap it up. I have all of my highlights, and I have an entire piece of paper over here that I don't want to show you because I don't want to spoil you, but I have a lot of thoughts about this book. First of all, I would give it 5 stars. It took a really long time for me to feel that way. I felt like that the first third of the book, that it was definitely going to be a 5-star read for me. And then as I got through the middle, you'll see in the vlog clips as they come up, this book was long. Like, yes, I am a girl who loves giant stories, and I always have, but this book was just, there was so much to get through. There was so much lore. I felt like it was lore dumping at times. There are 800, I don't want to burn my book on my vampire candle. That would be a little bit ironic for House of Flame and Shadow, but there are 838 pages. It feels like so much more. And then the funny part is that I was using half audiobook on this. I was reading from here to start, then I was reading on my Kindle, then I was reading on the audiobook. And what was so annoying is that since this book is so new, the whisper sync was not working between my Kindle syncing and my Audible version. So I would just have to kind of jump between these 3 mechanisms in order to read it wherever I was at. Like, it was the point where I had my headphones in and I was listening as I was walking around the store. I also had to go back and exchange this because when I first went to Target to get this, and I said I didn't need a physical copy and I was going to wait for the paperback to match my other 2, but I needed it. So I went to Target to make sure I could go get the bonus chapter, and when I first read it, I accidentally flipped to the very back page, and guess who spoiled herself by reading the very last page? Me. So I realized once I'd already brought my first copy home that it did not have the bonus scene in it with Ruhn and Lydia. And if you don't know about the bonus scenes, all of them were kind of scattered across different versions of this at different stores. So if you got it from Walmart, you got a certain bonus scene. If you got it from Target, you got the Ruhn and Lydia. If you got it from Barnes & Noble, if you got it from Books A Million, I think you got another one. There's like a list online if you look what all the bonus chapters are. But after reading the bonus chapter, and you'll see me react to that in the vlog portion of this video, I was kind of mad that that wasn't included in all of the books. I mean, I don't know what the other ones were like because I obviously only have this version, and Ruhn and Lydia are my favorite. Like, they are up there with like Rowan and Aelin in the Throne of Glass series, where I just love Ruhn and Lydia so much, and so I had to get their particular copy, and I knew they'd be leaked at some point. I know they will be. They're probably already out there for you to find, but I just wanted it for my bookshelf. I wanted to have their story, and it is not on the Kindle version. Like, the bonus chapters are not on the Kindle versions at all, but I really felt like they should have been included in the book somewhere. I felt like that was kind of unfair, that you had to kind of decide. And then some people don't even get a bonus chapter. Like, the original version that I had to go back and return and try and swap out for a new one didn't even have a bonus chapter. So I have a bit of a gripe with that, but I did love the one that I got to read. I just felt like that should have been an epilogue for the entire book because it fit really well. So anyway, the middle was really long. And then in typical Sarah J. Maas style, it really, it picked up at the end. And when I say it picked up, it was like all of a sudden everything we had been reading was so slow, and like something would happen, it would get really complicated, but then it would fix itself. And I wasn't loving Bryce throughout the entire middle of the book. I really wasn't loving her. Loved Lydia, loved Ruhn. I even loved Hunt more, and I didn't love him in the other books as much. But then toward the end, everything really wrapped itself up. A lot of things were paid off from not only this book, but from Acotar and Throne of Glass. And so this is where it really gets into like her universe and everything she's written. You could totally read Crescent City all by itself and you wouldn't have to have the other ones, but you're not going to get as much out of it if you don't read the entire Sarah J. Maas universe. And if you haven't read them, I would recommend not reading Crescent City first. I would recommend doing like Acotar first, then Throne of Glass, then Crescent City, or at least maybe just Acotar and then Crescent City if you are not ready to dive into Throne of Glass, although it's amazing and it's the first one that I read by her like over 10 years ago and it still makes me want to cry, and I should probably do a reread at some point, but that's for later. If you've read all of them or you've read more than one series, tell me in the comments which order you would suggest people read it in, because I've heard a lot of different theories, but I'm curious to see what you would say. The whole time I was reading, I kind of felt like maybe this would be a 4-star read for me. I wasn't obsessed with it until it all kind of paid off at the end, and there were those little moments along the way that I think really made it a 5-star for me. There was a bit of lore dumping at times, but it was like everything we'd ever been waiting for was suddenly dumped upon us, so I wasn't mad about it. And then at the very end, I was crying, and I literally had to put the book down and be like, I can't handle this right now. I need to come back to it in a couple of minutes. So I seriously put the book down because I had tears streaming down my face, and I made myself a cup of tea, and then I got back in bed and read the rest. So in the end, I do think it was really, really, truly amazing. There were some interesting things that I've read about maybe Sarah's editor had her rewrite parts of the book, or most of the book is what I've seen in some different rumor mills. And I don't know, I haven't read an article where Sarah said that herself, so I should probably go look for that before I tell you guys that. But there were definitely some parts of the book that didn't feel as magical as her other books or as the other Crescent City books. And I don't know why that is, but I'm wondering if that was part of the rewrite situation, because so much happened in this freaking giant tome of a book that I can only imagine there were sections that needed to be rewritten, but somehow make sure they still fit everything else that happened. So that is my little non-spoiler review for House of Flame and Shadow. And next, I'm going to go into a little bit of a reading vlog. I wish I had started vlogging more from the beginning, but I kind of started halfway through. And even if it's not fun for anyone else to watch, it was fun for me to do, because it was fun for me to feel like I was interacting with the book in a different way. So it's my first attempt at it. I will probably try and do more in the future that's a little bit better quality, but just know that this was me having fun reacting to the book. After this, it does contain spoilers. I started to like make it be non-spoiler, but then I realized when I'm showing you the Kindle, like I'm showing you the page, so there are spoilers. So if you want to click out right now and finish the book first, feel free. And then if you want spoilers and you want to see my very final thoughts of everything at the end with all of my notes that I have over here, feel free to stick around. If you're not done with this yet, please comment where you are below. I'm so curious to see how long it's taking people to read this book and where you are in the process. So comment down below if you're not done yet. And if you are done, just make sure you say spoilers in the comments in case people happen to see, so they can kind of scroll past quickly. So I just filmed a TikTok and I realized that it might be just time to finish Crescent City 3. The sun has set. I'm on chapter 50 and I got all my work done for the evening. And spoilers if you're not there. I think I just want to finish it. How much time do I have left? I have 19 minutes left in this chapter. Let's see. It says I have 8 hours and 18 minutes left of this book. I'm at 53. I'm only at 53%. Like, I have been reading this book for so long. You don't even know. I have the actual book up here. I feel like I have been reading this book for an eternity. I don't remember the last time it took me to actually finish a book while I was reading it actively. So maybe today's the day. Maybe I will manage to read for 8 hours for the next 8 hours. It's 6:30, so maybe it's gonna be tomorrow. I'll keep you updated. Now on chapter 65. That was a lot. I feel like this book is just a history book, is what I feel. I also had to switch to the Oasis to like be able to hold it, because the paperwhite was doing me dirty, but with this thing you can like hold it and it flips on either side like automatically. So thank God for the Oasis. The battery life is terrible, but it saved me in this instance. I feel like I'm getting somewhere, but I still feel like there's a lot to go, and I'm exhausted, but I feel better than I did before. I feel like I can push through. I don't know if this is what Sarah intended, but here we are. Okay, I'm back to reading. I just finished like the Avalon section where she killed the Autumn King and Morven. And let me see. So we're in chapter 65, although it starts with Ethan. Okay, this is the other thing that I have that's irritating on the Kindle, and I think it's the same in the physical book. But if you look at this, like, okay, so we're here with like Hypaxia and Ethan, and it's like, here's, okay, Hypaxia, Ethan, and then it just says like Hunt found Bryce sitting atop, but it's like you come down here and it's like, Ethan, please tell me it was a good tremendous change. Hunt found Bryce, and it's like there's no scene breaks in here. But anyway, what I'm really realizing is the Avalon storyline is really reminiscent of like the King Arthur Avalon Sword in the Stone. I feel like I thought that earlier in the series, but I didn't really think, like, I don't know, I just didn't like cling to it. My brain didn't process it. But now that we had the whole like sword and dagger prophecy and the Cave of the Princes, I feel like I'm totally seeing like the Bryce King Arthur parallels here, because we used to think it was ruhn because he had the star sword, blah blah blah, like in the first book, kind of in the second book, but now we've like learned it's Bryce. The only thing I wanted to say, so I'm at 70% and it says I have 4 hours left in the book, which it just seems like this book is never ending, and I love a good long book, but it really just seems like this book is so incredibly long, and I just want a resolution. Like, I want to savor it, but I've been reading it for over a week and I just want a resolution at this point. What I was going to say about this, other than the weird formatting, is that I really liked this whole section, but it feels like this section was written by a different Sarah than the rest of the book so far, and I don't know why. Like, the whole thing just seems interesting and odd to me. Like, the tone is different. I know they just went through some stuff, and I don't have a problem with it. It's just something that I noticed. So, anyway, I will keep reading and I will keep you updated. Okay, I'm now on 74. Did anyone else just feel like the Prime just died so quickly? Like, why? He was dead, and then he was trying to make Ethan his heir, and then all of a sudden he's just gone. Like, Sabine could just get him that easily. Okay, something has to happen here and fix this, because this is a mess. Okay, so I started reading in the actual book to see if the weird formatting issues were there, but most importantly, we only have this much left, which is kind of wild to think that I have read this much, and I'm almost there. But this chapter, chapter 74, out of all the things that I expected in this book, this was not one of them. Okay, and now we're back to this perspective. Okay, so see, in the regular book, there's like an actual break. So if you're reading this in the regular book, I could see how you would like not really have an issue with these chapters. But when you're reading it on Kindle, it's just like all of a sudden you're in a different perspective. Here, let's go back and let's see. Yeah, there's an actual break. Okay, so it's probably just a Kindle issue then. I am interrupting this. Oh, no. Well, okay. I'm interrupting this because I was watching TikTok and I found out that Victoria Aveyard, is that how you say her last name, has another book series other than Red Queen. How did I have no idea? How did I absolutely have no idea? Also, the way that I just looked this up on my Kindle, because the phone app doesn't work for Amazon to like let you do this. So, okay. So is Realm Breaker like the first one? Okay, stop. I like that it tells you. So it appears Realm Breaker is the first, then Blade Breaker, and then Fate Breaker. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to read a sample, or I'm gonna have to look on Libby, but I have so many holds that I'm gonna have to delete a hold in order to get it. Okay, I'm at 86%, 144 minutes, an hour and 44 minutes. Why is this so funny? Why are Therian and Sathia like an unsuspecting highlight of this book, And also, why is that sentence so funny? You should get your wife and go. Just so funny. But I do weirdly love Sathya and Therian, and I kind of want them to have their own book. Okay, I spoke far too soon. Sathya has gone now. Like, she better come back. She's like one of my favorite characters now, so she better come back. Also, this video recording thing that they did feels very like Mockingjay, like those produced videos that Katniss was doing that they were sending out to the Capitol is really the vibe it gives me here. Okay, Ruhn, our emotionally supportive king. I feel like everyone's giving Bryce like a reputation of like she's not really being very supportive of Hunt as he's going through everything. And honestly, I kind of agree with them, but I feel like Ruhn has been so supportive of Lydia. And honestly, I'm here for it, and I really want Ruhn and Lydia to have their own book too. And also, as you may have noticed, I've been switching back between my Paperwhite and my Oasis because I'm trying to decide which one I really like reading better on. And I know I mentioned it kind of the comparison in my Kindle videos, but I think I might do a more in-depth comparison and like really look at the different features and explain why I like one of them better than the other, but then the other one I still kind of want to use. So comment below if you have any Oasis versus Paperwhite questions. This is the Paperwhite that I'm on right now. Okay, tell me why it's so cute that chapter 88 is 88% on the Kindle. It's kind of adorable. I did really like these couple of highlights here with the starlight flickering around her head and a shadow of that crown and stars, and then the bringing back through love all is possible. I wish I kind of vlogged a little bit more reading, but at the same time I was honestly just enjoying it, so we'll see how fast I get through the last bunch here, because I feel like in these books it always just kind of like X Games mode all of a sudden, so we'll see, and then I might just give my thoughts at the end. Okay, so it's like 12:01, and I just finished House of Flame and Shadow, and I immediately had to just download and put something else on my Kindle because it was just like so intense. Like, I am gonna need a while to process what I just read, and I do need to go read the Lydia and Ruhn bonus chapter, but I think I might save that for tomorrow. But I needed something new on here because it was so good. Like, everything I feel like came together. I was worried, I was losing faith, but it came together and I need to process it, and I will form my thoughts tomorrow. But for now, this is our next book. It's really pretty. Okay, perhaps this was a mistake because I woke up and I saw this on my Kindle and I was like, what? And then I remembered because like I've been reading A Court of Flame and Shadow you know what I'm talking about. I need coffee before I can handle this. I just came out here to make coffee with this one, and this one still has House of Flame and Shadow on it. I'm feeling nostalgic already. Like, I'm feeling relieved, but I'm feeling so nostalgic about it, and I don't know what to do. Okay, officially time to find the Ruhn and Lydia bonus chapter, and this is why I haven't taken the stickers off yet. I need to, but when I first went and got this physical copy at Target, there were no stickers on it. It was just the regular book, and I flipped to the very last page of the book and I ruined myself because I read the very last page of the book while I was searching for bonus chapter content. So now here we are. This is where I left off last night before I got into my Kindle version, and let's read the Ruhn and Lydia bonus chapter. That's kind of why I felt like I wasn't done with it yet, so it kind of actually really makes me happy to have the bonus chapter left. So here we go. And just in case you want to know where the bonus chapter is, in case you don't want to ruin it for yourself, it actually is right here after the last page of the acknowledgements. So this is how you know whether you have a bonus chapter or not, and all of the bonus chapters came from different places, which I don't totally agree with, but let's see how good this one is. Okay, that should have been an epilogue. That was a crime that not everyone got that. That should have been the actual end of the book, like completely an epilogue. That is how you tie things together. That had, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna spoil it for you, so skip 15 seconds ahead if you don't want to hear it, but it was ruhn and Lydia getting married, and it was so freaking cute. There was more fury in June, and then it kind of tied together them getting to dance. Like, they didn't get to dance during the equinox. That should have been the epilogue. I don't know if the other chapters were that good, but that one was really good, and now I get to tear off the stickers. But I'm really glad I have this version, and honestly, Sarah, that should have been the epilogue. Why did you split all these things between different locations of books? That feels weird. Okay, I'm gonna take some time to think about my thoughts, and then I will do a little wrap up. So after all that, these are my final thoughts after I've had some time to process. And I have not only the hardcover book, but I have both Kindles with me, and I have this page of notes. The page of notes looks ridiculous because I had it as a note on my phone as I was reading, and then I was like, oh, I'll just look at my phone. But then I realized I'm gonna film this on my phone, so I had to print it out, which felt very old-fashioned. But you know what? They wouldn't have printers on a Valin, and they don't anymore. Avalon, I call it a Valin because it reminds me of like the Sword in the Stone situation, like King Arthur and Avalon. I don't know. In the audiobook, I think she called it a Valin, so that's what I'm going to call it. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my highlights on here as well. I highlighted so many things in this book, and then the funny part is that when I was reading it physically or the audio version, I couldn't highlight things, but as I was reading it physically, I was like trying to press down and hold and highlight. I kind of do want to at some point do a reread of this whole series and tab everything now that I know what to really tab for and what to pay attention from the previous books, like what to pay attention to. I kind of want to go back and tab and annotate just because I feel like I probably missed so many things. There was a hilarious vacuuming joke from like, okay, it wasn't hilarious, but it was a really interesting choice of words by Sarah. When Bryce was getting sucked into the second black hole, it was talking about like everything being vacuumed, all this stuff, and I just thought that was kind of a callback to Micah in the first book, so I thought that was really funny. But I highlighted so much from this book, and if I sat here and went through every single one, this video would probably be 2 hours long. But there were little things that I went through and I highlighted, and I kind of summed them all up in this little, well, actually, this is not little. I don't know why the font printed so huge, and I know this is the dorkiest thing in the entire world, but we're just gonna go with it for a second. Big moments. Celine. Why did it take so long to get that lore dump? It was insane. The entire time my jaw was on the floor. Vesperus, that whole thing was really interesting. And also I put down here, why did Polaris bleed red and Vesperus bled black? And then also Vesperus kept being like, I am the evening star, but then Hesperus was the evening star in Midgard. So I'm like, are there different versions of the Asteri? Like, do we have more of the Daglin or the Asteri on different worlds? Like, is there one? For some reason I remember there being like an obelisk type thing when they were climbing Ramiel, and I'm just wondering if there's like an Asteri trapped over there. Like, that's just kind of how it felt. Going through a few more, I did highlight the part where it said like she needed to be fueled up, and I thought that was interesting because I was like, at some point she's gonna have to get her own power from somewhere. Like, she's going to have to. Everything regarding Truth Teller and the Star Sword did feel very King Arthur to me. And then I thought it was really interesting because there were so many people theorizing that Azriel and Bryce were going to be mates, or there was going to be something involved with them. And as I was reading the beginning of the book, I did feel like Azriel and Bryce had more chemistry than Bryce and Hunt. I was like, maybe this actually is going to come to pass, but then obviously it didn't. But I thought it was going to for a little bit. Also, I wanted more Amryn. I wanted more Fury as well, but those characters kind of seemed to just fall by the wayside. We really didn't get to see Feyre and Rhys. And also, Rhys, from everyone's perspective other than Feyre, is horrible. Like, I know he's supposed to be this like intimidating like Lord of Darkness, like Lord of Night kind of thing, obviously. But from Nesta's perspective, Rhys was pretty terrible. And also from Bryce's perspective, he was pretty terrible. And I was kind of disappointed in the way that they all treated her. and the way that she treated them. Like, I get it. I understand them all as characters, but it was still a little weird, and I didn't love it. We got to learn that the Asteri were actually called the Daglan on their planet in Prythian, and so that was quite interesting. There was just, again, a lot of lore dumping, a lot of things that make sense now, but before this book came out, we were all so desperate to know. Okay, then we had the lore dump with Vesperus in chapter 25, also where Bryce got her powers. This was so interesting to see just everything that we had kind of wanted to know about the Asteri and how these worlds are connected and everything like that. Everything was just given to us, and I had to read this chapter like 3 times because my mind was blown and I was highlighting so much. Also, the way that it was written, this really did feel like a movie. The way that the characters went back and forth and the narrative went back and forth, it felt very cinematic, and it felt like it was a movie, how the scenes just transitioned from one to the other. Although I do wish they'd had some sort of scene break symbol, because on the Kindle, and then also it was a little better on the print version, but in the audiobook and on the Kindle, it was just kind of abrupt the way that the scenes would change mid-chapter. So that's something that I would have liked a little bit more, but basically everything involving Lydia and involving the Hind, involving all of that, I was eating it up, and I want Lydia to have her own book. I want Lydia to have her own series. Lydia deserves the world. Lydia is my favorite character out of this entire series. And also, I loved how vulnerable Ruhn was in this book. I know he went through a lot, but he was really, really vulnerable. And then the fact that Lydia completely sacrificed herself for this entire crew of people, and we didn't even know that she had sons at this point, and she just went through that. And like, chapter 34 was insane. Let's see, it was a chapter 33 and 34. It was just crazy, everything that Lydia did. I'm gonna have to go back and read it. In fact, I'm honestly shocked that Lydia managed to come back to life at all, but when Hunt was using his lightning to revive her, I immediately thought of the Thunderbirds and all the necromantic possibilities. I don't know, that does not sound right, but it just seemed really interesting that all of a sudden Hunt was again being compared to a Thunderbird, but we don't have any more Thunderbirds because Sophie died, but we still had Hunt, so that felt very important for some reason. The reveal of Jessica and who she actually was wild, and it's so interesting that libraries are such a big part of Sarah J. Maas's universe. Still feeling that the Archesian amulets have to do with the Archeron sisters. That one wasn't paid off in this book, but I feel like it should be at some point, hopefully. Bryce was kind of a little bit of an asshole throughout the entire book, and I didn't love her until the end. Like, I know she was determined, but I think she was kind of writing off Hunt's trauma a lot, and just seeing the difference and kind of the foil between Lydia and Ruhn's relationship and Bryce and Hunt's relationship, and how mostly until that part where Ruhn shoots Lydia in the leg for good reason apparently, until that portion they were just so emotionally supportive of each other, and Heist and Hunt and Bryce were not, and I was kind of disappointed in Bryce, honestly. Lydia constantly being described as golden and then giving her sons that ring, I was like, she has to be Throne of Glass related. Like, there is no way she is not related to people in Throne of Glass. And it made me think of Rowan, and it made me want to cry. Okay, this part in chapter 48, I'm really glad I highlighted it, where on page 494, I think this is Adis, it's one of the princes of hell, I don't know who it is, I have to click on it to go look, but I don't want to lose my spot, was picking at an invisible fleck of dirt on his night black pants. Tell me that's not a direct Rhys reference. So is Rhys somehow related to the Princes of Hell? That seems like an odd detail for Sarah, the mastermind, to throw in. Okay, more Lydia lore. I loved it. Okay, I kept highlighting parts where they talked about black salt, because the black salt really reminded me a lot of Throne of Glass and the salt mines. So that felt very connected there, and I just wonder if we're ever going to get a payoff for all of this, or if it's just a little nod to us with all these little things. Ruhn was the one to kill the Autumn King, and then also I like how we had the Lydia payoff where we found out she had fire powers, although I feel like we kind of knew it all along. I like that Sarah kind of left us little breadcrumbs with Lydia, and then later she tells us like she was the one who was making sure those flames didn't get them because she knew she had power over fire. Loved the otter reference. Weirdly, I love Sathya. I was upset that she just ran off, and I feel like if the next book is House of Many Waters and it revolves around Therian, I really need Sathya to be in it because I almost liked her. I started liking her almost as much as I like Lydia. Like, I'm invested in Sathya now. Therian annoyed me. Ethan annoyed me. I haven't really mentioned him so far because honestly, Ethan annoyed me until the end. I'm sorry, but he wasn't my favorite. But I need more Sathya. Okay, it didn't feel like the crossover was over, and so I was really glad to see that we went back, but we really just saw Nesta. So this was interesting that after A Court of Silver Flames, we really just got Nesta. We didn't really get, we got Asriel a little bit when we were walking through the caves at the beginning, but we really didn't get Rhys. We really didn't get Feyre. We really didn't get Elaine at all. It was just Nesta, which I sort of loved because Bryce and Nesta are such interesting characters together and separately that I felt like it was really fitting. And I personally feel like A Court of Silver Flames is possibly Sarah's best book, in my opinion. The way that it was written in the storyline, I loved A Court of Silver Flames. So I am not complaining about more Nesta, but I did feel like Nesta gave the mask a little bit too willingly, if we're being honest. Like, she just kind of gave it up. I know she traded her parents, I know, but those could have been random people. But I don't know, I'm gonna let that one go. These parts were just plain funny, and again, I kind of love Sathya and Therian. Like, I like him better now that he has Sathya, which is kind of bad, but I really liked him at the end when he was saving Lydia too with the antidote. I should probably print this quote from Ruhn out where he says, "Set the fear aside, focus on the task, not the what ifs." I feel like we should all probably print that out and have that on our wall. These were just beautiful quotes as well. I loved the visual of the star sword and all the starlight around her head like a crown. I feel like that was mentioned a lot of different times with her and Hunt in this book. Ruhn shooting Lydia in the leg was wild. Was not expecting that one. Again, I highlighted this one because Polaris bled red and Vesperis bled black. So are they really the same thing? Lydia being able to use her full powers was amazing. Again, very Aelin. I loved it. I loved that we kind of got her connection to Danica, because Danica is a character that I wish we had gotten more of. I know she's kind of a ghost character throughout the entire thread and the plot line of the entire story, but I love Danica, and I wish we need a prequel from Danica's perspective with Baxian and Lydia and all of this. Like, Sarah, we need that from you. I need that from you. Kind of like you did with the Assassin's Blade. I need a prequel. Okay, this is where I started crying when Ruhn was with Lydia's sons, and then they started talking about, I'm gonna tear up again. They started talking about how through love all is possible, and love was holding the portal open. I started bawling. This is where I had to put the book down because I just started bawling my eyes out. Okay, this is why I think that it's gonna come back, because Jessica talked a lot about that amulet before it had just been kind of mentioned. And I feel like it seems like it's too purposeful to not come back later. Also, Hypaxia. I'm obsessed with Hypaxia and Lydia as sisters, and I want more of that backstory as well. The books. See, the books are always so important in these books. Light It Up also made me start crying. And I kind of loved that there was like a life message, like, go live your life now. Like, you've solved this giant galactic problem, like intergalactic problem, and a problem on our world. Now go live your life. And I loved that. And then here, where Bryce takes the sword back to Nesta and gives her the Star Sword, setting up another book. I also started crying at this point because I'm just so excited for whatever Nesta is going to do with the Star Sword. I just know there's like another way that Nesta and Bryce are connected, and like another reason. They both have the 8-pointed star, and so I'm so excited for whatever that's going to be, but I know it's going to be years down the road. And then I also started crying when they were talking about Ember and Nesta's time together, And also, who would have ever thought that we would see Cassian and Randall like bonding, or Randall and Reese bonding over being dads? Like, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Okay, I think I got to everything through those notes. I did feel like Bryce grew as a character at the end, like after everything went down, so that was good. Because at first I was not so sure about her character in this book. The Sigrid plotline was weird, but it clearly was just to get Ethan to be prime. Again, I need more Sathya and Therian and the Star Sword. Again, I loved Hypaxia becoming head of the House of Flame and Shadow. That was one of the most badass things ever. And Ethan becoming prime, like, I don't know, but the rest of it was amazing. And also, I think I'm going to write this down so it looks a little bit prettier. And I'm thinking about making a book journal so that I can look back on it at the end of the year and do like a proper recap. I don't know what I'm going to read next because I don't really know how to leave this universe. The hilarious part was, where's my Kindle? The hilarious part was that right after I finished this book, I'll show you my library, I immediately downloaded a sample of Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I've heard mixed things about that. I have the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle from the library right now, so I feel like I have pressure to read that, but I don't know if I'm in the mood for it. But then the thing I wanted to say was that I immediately went and just clicked on Throne of Glass. Like, there was something about it where I was just like, that would be the most comforting thing to me in this moment right now, would be to read Throne of Glass. So I don't know. We shall see. I'll keep doing some monthly recaps, but thank you for reading House of Flame and Shadow with me. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know if it became a 5-star read for you. I know that there's been some controversy about this book, and some people have really not loved it, and some people really have. I thought it came together in the end, but I would love to know your thoughts. And let me know which Crescent City book is your favorite, if you've read all 3, or I guess if you haven't. But if you haven't, I just spoiled a ton for you. Let me know which Crescent City book is your favorite, and maybe which Sarah J. Maas book overall is your favorite. If I had to choose, I think it would be A Court of Mist and Fury, A Court of Silver Flames, or Kingdom of Ash. Those are my 3 favorites. I did love this one though, because everything kind of got brought together from a ton of different characters, a ton of different series that we've been waiting for 10 years. So I do love this one, and it will always have a special place in my heart. So thank you so much for watching. Please like if you enjoyed, and I will see you next time for probably my February wrap up. And also, a lot of people have been asking about the Kindle differences with the Oasis. This one's the Oasis, and this one is the Paperwhite. So if you have any Kindle questions, please put them below, and I might make a video about that too, just because I did use my Oasis a lot to read this book, and I thought I was kind of done with it because the battery life was terrible, but I may have fixed it, and I do use both now. Let me know if you have any Kindle questions as well, and I will see you next time in my next video. Thanks again for watching.